Let's take a look at the Mythic Plus news. It's titled Dragonflight Season 4 Dungeon Changes Ahead. Alright, what do they got? It's a part of ongoing development in Dragonflight. The development team identified 3 issues to address based on community feedback regarding the dungeon system as is. 1. Heroic dungeons are barely distinct from normal dungeons at the maximum level, and that distinction mostly only matters during a few days players first reach max level. I mean, that's true. I don't really think that... Yeah, I agree with that. Heroic dungeons and normal dungeons are completely irrelevant. We're so back. Can you zoom in? Yeah, I can zoom in. Let's get enhance. M0 dungeons rapidly lose relevance a few weeks into an expansion once the M Plus season starts, with occasional exceptions for the weekly event quest. No. I zoned there to reroll my key occasionally. The only true in-game dungeon mode, Mythic Plus, currently revolves around a timer. This means that other than new mega dungeons, there really isn't a place for in-game players who enjoy a more methodical dungeon pacing and gameplay. Given the combination of the 2 underutilized difficulty, a gap in meeting player demand, we're restructuring dungeon difficulty and rewards in Season 4. Oh god, where are they going with this? Where is this going? Is this... What? Heroic difficulty and rewards will move up roughly to the current level of M0. These dungeons will remain available to queue into via Group Finder, though the item level requirement to queue in these will also go up accordingly. M0 difficulty and rewards will move up roughly to the current level of M plus 8 to 10. This is a bit hand wavy. Numerically, it's close to M10, but not having timer at all. Or whatever. Okay, I understand what this means. The existence of the M plus system will pick up where that leaves off, such that Mythic 5 in Season 4 is roughly equivalent in difficulty, rewards, and M plus rating to a 15 today. Okay, so is this like I don't feel like this is like a long-term issue, though. Visualization of the change going from M2714. Oh, they're doing a key squish. Oh, I see what they're doing. This makes more sense. Okay, so they're doing a key squish, which makes sense. No timer like the present. Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 Dragonflight dungeons as a part of an adjustments. We have a few goals in mind. Okay, so this means that we're getting all 8 Dragonflight dungeons back, right? Well, actually, that's not exactly what that means, because they could be talking about M0 and Heroic. Recalibrate core difficulties to align with seasonal player experience and progression. Serve the community who enjoys dungeon content but feels that M plus content isn't for them due to pressures of taking part. Okay. Create a better environment in Mythic Dungeons to prepare more players for taking part in Mythic Plus. I don't think these are bad things that they're saying. Obviously not something that, like, people who are already doing Mythic Plus can't really relate to this that much. One of the most notable changes players can look forward to is the removal of the timer for Mythic Keystone dungeons for what are currently 0 and 10. Players can run these dungeons at their own pace without needing to watch the clock. Okay, so 0 through 10s don't have a timer? So a current... Hmm. Zero and 10. What does this mean? Hold on. Oh. New M0 doesn't have a timer, which is difficulty of current 10. Okay, I see what you're saying. This makes a bit more sense now. I was kind of confused because, like, why does they say 0 and 10? But now I understand what they mean when they say that. Normal difficulty is unchanged. The tuning rewards this difficulty. Mythic difficulty changes and mechanics will not be present in this difficulty. This remains a queuable experience. Yeah, I was about to say, so this is going to change loot rewards, but I was trying to figure out how. The tuning and rewards of this difficulty, there are no timers, affixes, or limitations, changing specializations while inside of the dungeon. The goal is to create a mega dungeon like difficulty for this experience. The difficulty should present a meaningful challenge to commiserate wars. So basically they're trying to streamline actually getting people into dungeons, right? Have like relatively similar experiences going from normal heroic to mythic, and then be like trying to push more people into Mythic Plus, which makes more sense. The Mythic Plus system will have rewards up to level 10 with +2 starting from what would regularly be an 11 in the current Mythic Plus system. A +5 should be as hard as a 15, and a 10 should be as hard as a 20. Affixes would slot in at 2, 5, and 10. Okay. Dungeon rating should be equivalent to what they represent in the current system. Interesting. So we're still going to be over like 3K rating, something like that. Wait, we're going up to 522 item level? Into dungeon rewards end at 9s? Like the max level gearing for end of dungeon rewards end at 9s? And the vault is 10s? Okay. They go up to... Yeah, okay. Let's see what's going on here. Crest and Flightstone rewards are changing to match the same difficulty with only some minor adjustments. Flightstone earnings for any given Mythic Plus will match the equally challenging Mythic Plus from previous seasons. This means that a +2 in Season 4 will give the same number of Flightstones as a +12 Season 3. Okay. Bonus Flightstones. Drake Crest, Worm Crest. Aspect Crest will be available in any Mythic difficulty from 6 and up. Also in the same quantities. I mean, I think that this is just an issue of, like, you should be, as the season progresses, you should be getting more crests. We believe that these changes will provide new opportunities for players to experience Mythic and Mythic Plus dungeons while providing additional challenges for in-game players in the future. We're looking forward to your feedback. I think overall this is fine. These are not necessarily things that I super resonate hard with, but I'm also not somebody who would be affected by things like this, right? I think that doing an item or like a dungeon level squish is totally fine. I will say that there are some people who, you know, the number of what dungeon they're doing actually kind of matters to them. And so the fact that they did, you know, all their first 20s this season was actually kind of interesting. As long as I don't end up having to spam like heroic dungeons for gear or something like that, I don't really care. I think this is totally fine. This doesn't really affect players who are already entering in the system in M+ and are already doing like, you know, high level keys or whatever. This is more for trying to squish down the key levels and the difficulties to make sure that it's accessible for a wider variety of players, which I guess makes sense. Yeah. So I don't think this necessarily matters for pre-existing players, but I think it's cool. Like I'm not like opposed to this. But again, I don't think I'm not affected positively or negatively by it, so I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other. I guess also, what are they gonna do with portals? That's a good question. Not really sure. Yeah, but I think a dungeon level squish is totally fine. Are they still 20s? There's no way they would still be 20s. It's not a big deal. You just don't think it actually solves any of the problems they say they're having. Heroic dungeons are barely distinct from normal dungeons at a max level, and that distinction mostly only matters during a few days after the players first reach max level. Does this fix that? I don't think so. I don't think this necessarily fixes that. I think heroic and normal dungeons are not going to be really distinct from one another. M0 dungeons rapidly lose their relevance a few weeks into the expansion once the M+ season starts, with occasional exceptions for the weekly event quest. I think for hardcore players or players who, you know, play the game at like a relatively high level, this is not actually going to be any different. But I think for players who are just trying to get into M+, like there is now going to be actually a significantly larger buffer between M0 and doing a Mythic Plus dungeon, so I think that makes more sense. Again, I don't think this is created for me, though. The only true in-game dungeon mode in Plus revolves around timer. I mean, I don't think that this is getting solved specifically. It's getting solved in the sense of the M0s are a bit more, you know, they're a bit more challenging, right? But I don't think that this makes M plus then not the primary game mode or something like that. It's overall a good change for new returning players. Normal probably doesn't need to exist though. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with that. I don't think that normal necessarily needs to exist. But yeah, no, I don't think they mention when Season 4 drops. It just seems like, yeah, a dungeon level squish. TLDR, normal dungeons are unchanged. Heroic dungeons will be changed to be a difficulty of current M0 and remain queuable. Mythic dungeons will be changed to be a difficulty of +10. Mythic plus dungeon will scale loot up to new +10. Yeah, it's not. This goes hard. That's awesome. Excellent changes. This is basically resetting Mythic Plus to what it was at the start of Legion. Yeah. Great changes. I think a lot. I mean, this resonates with the. I don't want to say a lot of people, but this probably resonates with a decent amount of people. It doesn't necessarily resonate with me, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Normalist to level. Yeah. Does this mean Dawn is not in Season 4? I don't think this means that. I think that whenever they say Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons, I just think that this is because, right, the Mythic dungeons are Dragonflight Mythic dungeons. The Heroic dungeons are Dragonflight Heroic dungeons. The normal dungeons are Dragonflight normal dungeons. Although you can also interpret it as like you're getting all 8 Dragonflight dungeons as so when is Season 4? That's a good question. Not something they answered. Okay, so I mean let's look at this Wild post. Basically, Dragonflight Season 4 Mythic Plus dungeon rotation, 8 Dragonflight dungeons. This is speculative, right? They're saying that Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons as part of these adjustments. We have a few goals in mind. And we talked about this whenever I was looking at the other post. Where this I think is relative to the just like the M0 dungeons and the changes that they're talking about, not necessarily referring to that being the dungeon pool. But they did announce in the roadmap that Dragonflight Season 4 will revisit Dragonflight dungeons and raids along with outdoor content, which I don't know. I guess you could speculate that it's just all 8 Dragonflight dungeons, but I think that this would imply that the dungeon pool is all 8 dungeons, which I just don't think is necessarily true. I think that the dungeon pool is most likely involving Dawn of the Infants as well. They didn't say that this is the pool. Like that's not what they're saying in the post. Yes, they did. No, that's not. That's not. Unless they literally posted something. That's what they said was very specifically. The Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons. That's not. The Season 4 changes will apply to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons. That means that the M0, M plus heroic thing is applying to all 8 of the Dragonflight dungeons because there's no Everbloom Mythic Plus. There's no Throne of the Tides Mythic Plus. It's speculation. Like, what are you talking about? It's not confirmed. Blizzard didn't say that. Blizzard didn't say that this is the dungeon pool. And it's likely to be correct because... It's likely to be partially correct, though, because they've stated in the past that... And this is correct, where Dragonflight Season 4 will revisit Dragonflight's dungeons and raids, but we just don't know which ones. All right, and that's going to be it from today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to come check out my stream. I've been streaming a lot lately. If you enjoy the content, I would really love to see you guys over on my stream, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.